Commander Jeho Park was having a quiet morning on the Earth Defense Station when all the alarms started ringing at once. He quickly put down his coffee cup and rushed to the main control room. The huge screen in front of him showed a massive spaceship entering Earth's solar system. "Sir, the ship is 3 times bigger than our largest vessel," reported Officer Yunhee at her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel as she gathered more information. "It's moving directly toward Earth's orbit." Jeho straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. In his 15 years of service, he had never seen a ship this size. "Have they sent any messages?" he asked, keeping his voice calm despite the tension in the room. "Not yet, sir," Yunhee replied. But as soon as she said this, her screen lit up with a new alert. "Wait, we're receiving a transmission now." The main screen flickered, and Jeho's eyes widened. On the screen stood a creature that looked like a mix between a bear and a lion, but much larger. It had dark purple fur, sharp teeth that gleamed like knives, and claws that could probably tear through metal. This was a Rakthar, the most feared predator species in the known galaxy. The Rakthar spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that made the speakers vibrate. "Greetings, humans. We are the Rakthars. We have heard many stories about your kind." Jeho exchanged worried looks with his crew. Everyone knew about the Rakthars. They were famous for hunting other species and taking over their planets. But something was different this time. The Rakthar wasn't making threats. "We have watched your species from afar," the Rakthar continued. "You are small, have no claws, and your teeth are dull. Yet somehow, you have become one of the most successful predator species in the galaxy. This interests us." Jeho stepped forward. "I am Commander Jeho Park of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact with other species." He tried to sound confident, even though his heart was racing. The Rakthar made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peaceful contact. Most species run when they see us. But you humans, you stand your ground. You even welcome us. Fascinating." Just then, Captain Ha-Won Kim, Earth's top expert on alien species, rushed into the control room. She had been studying the Rakthars for years, but had never seen one up close. She whispered something to Jeho, and he nodded. "We would be honored to meet with you properly," Jeho said to the Rakthar. "Perhaps we could arrange a formal meeting." The Rakthar's expression changed to what looked like surprise. Its pointed ears twitched. "You would welcome us, even knowing what we are?" "Yes," Jeho replied firmly. "On Earth, we have a saying. Keep your friends close, and your potential friends even closer." He had changed the old saying a bit, but he thought this version was better. The Rakthar was quiet for a moment. Then it did something no one expected. It smiled, showing all its sharp teeth. "Commander Jeho Park, you have surprised us, and it is not easy to surprise a Rakthar. We accept your invitation." After the transmission ended, the control room burst into excited chatter. Jeho turned to Ha-Won. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" Ha-Won shook her head. "No, for the first time ever, the Rakthars are curious instead of hostile. This could change everything." She looked at the huge ship on the screen. "But we need to plan this meeting carefully. Very carefully." Jeho nodded, already thinking about what needed to be done. Earth was about to host the galaxy's most dangerous predators. And somehow, they had to make sure dinner was ready. Captain Ha-Won Kim sat in the emergency meeting room with Earth's top officials. The large screens on the walls showed worried faces from different countries. Everyone was talking about what to do with the Rakthar ship now waiting near Earth's moon. "We cannot let them land on Earth," said one official, hitting his desk. "They are too dangerous." "But we cannot say no to them either," said another. "That might make them angry." Ha-Won stood up slowly. She had spent years studying alien species, and she had an idea. "What if we invite them to the International Space Station instead?" The room went quiet. Admiral Lee raised an eyebrow. "The space station. Are you suggesting we host dangerous aliens on our most expensive space structure? Yes, HFY said firmly. But not just host them. I suggest we invite them to dinner. Now everyone was staring at her like she had gone crazy. Commander Jiho, who was sitting nearby, was the only one who smiled. He remembered how the Rakthars had seemed curious about humans during their first contact. Think about it, HFY continued. Every species in the galaxy fears the Rakthars. They expect fear. But what if we do something completely different? What if we treat them like honored guests instead of threats? A dinner party, with the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Admiral Lee shook his head. That sounds like offering ourselves as the main course. Actually, HFY pulled up some data on her tablet. My research shows that Rakthars respect species that surprise them. And nothing would surprise them more than being treated as equals rather than being feared. Commander Jiho stood up to support her. During our first contact, they seemed most interested in how humans succeeded without natural weapons like claws or fangs. This could be our chance to show them how we did it, through creativity and cooperation. The room was silent as everyone thought about this. Then Soo-Jin Lee, Earth's chief expert on alien cultures and food, spoke up. I could design a menu that would work for both species. It would show them how humans turned cooking from a survival skill into an art. But the security risks, Admiral Lee started to say. We can handle that, said Security Officer Tae-sung Cho. The space station already has special sections that can be sealed off. We can make it safe while still being welcoming. HFY looked around the room. The Rakthars are powerful, yes, but they're also curious about us. This is our chance to show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or defenses. It's our ability to turn potential enemies into friends. Finally, after what felt like hours of discussion, the officials agreed. Commander Jiho sent the invitation to the Rakthar ship. The response came back almost immediately. They accept, Jiho announced, reading the message. Their leader says they are intrigued by human customs and look forward to experiencing a formal Earth dinner. As the meeting ended, Admiral Lee pulled HFY aside. I hope you know what you're doing, Captain. The fate of Earth might depend on this dinner party. HFY nodded. In all of human history, we've survived by adapting and finding new solutions. Sometimes the best way to deal with a predator isn't to run or fight. It's to invite them to dinner and show them a better way. As she walked back to her office, HFY looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere up there, the most dangerous species in the galaxy was preparing to be Earth's dinner guests. Now they just had to make sure everything was perfect. The future of human-alien relations might depend on what they served for the main course. Chief Culinary Diplomat Soo-Jin Lee stood in the space station's kitchen, surrounded by screens showing Rakthar biology data. She had 3 days to prepare a dinner that could either make peace with or offend the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Their teeth are designed for tearing meat, she explained to her team. But their digestive system can also handle cooked food. She pointed to a diagram on the main screen. This is good news. We can work with this. The kitchen staff watched as Soo-Jin drew up the menu. She had chosen 5 courses that would show the best of Earth's cooking, while being safe for Rakthar consumption. Each dish would tell a story about human history and innovation. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Security Officer Tae-sung Cho was facing his own challenges. He walked through the dining area, checking every detail with careful eyes. The tables need to be bigger, he told his team. Rakthars are twice the size of humans, and the chairs must be stronger. He tapped one of the regular chairs. These would break under their weight. A young security officer raised her hand. Sir, where should we hide the weapons? Tae-sung shook his head. No hidden weapons. The Rakthars can smell fear and metal. If we want them to trust us, we must trust them first. He paused. But keep the emergency barriers ready, just in case. Back in the kitchen, Soo-Jin was testing the first course. She lifted a spoon to her mouth and tasted the soup. More salt, she decided, and add the smoked meat now. She had discovered that Rakthars had a strong sense of smell, even stronger than their sense of taste. The food needed to smell as good as it tasted. Commander Jeho visited both teams throughout the day. He stopped in the kitchen first, where Sujin offered him a taste of each dish. The food was a careful mix of Earth's traditional cooking methods with adjustments for Rakthar preferences. "This is excellent," Jeho said after tasting the main course. "But will it be enough to impress them?" Sujin smiled confidently. "Commander, this isn't just food. Each dish tells a story about how humans learned to use fire, how we turned hunting into an art, and how we learned to grow our own food. The Rakthars are hunters. They will understand and respect this history." Later, in the security center, Tai Sung showed Jeho the safety measures. "We've reinforced the dining area floor," he explained, "and we've installed special air filters that can remove any dangerous substances in seconds." He pointed to a screen showing the station's layout. "But we've done it all without making it look like a prison." As the day ended, Captain Hawan joined them for a final review. She had spent hours studying Rakthar customs to help the team avoid any cultural mistakes. "Remember," she said, "they respect strength, but they define it differently than most species. To them, true strength is about mastery and control, not just power." Jeho looked around at his team. Everyone was tired but focused. They had transformed the space station's dining area into something that was both welcoming and secure. The kitchen smelled of Earth's finest cooking, mixed with new scents designed for Rakthar senses. "One more day," he said. "One more day to prepare. And then we find out if we can turn the galaxy's apex predators into dinner guests." Sujin nodded as she checked her final menu. "Don't worry, Commander. By the time this dinner is over, they'll understand why humans have survived every challenge we've faced." She smiled. Sometimes the best way to show strength is by sharing food. The International Space Station hummed with nervous energy as the Rakthar shuttle approached. Commander Jeho Park stood at the main airlock with Captain Ha-won Kim and Security Officer Ta-sung Cho. They watched through the reinforced windows as the massive purple and silver vessel drew closer. "Their shuttle is bigger than our cargo ships," Tai-sung whispered, checking his tablet one last time to ensure all safety systems were working properly. The Rakthar ship connected to the station with a deep, metallic thud that echoed through the halls. Everyone held their breath. The outer airlock doors sealed, and the air pressure adjusted with a soft hiss. "Remember," Ha-won said quietly, "they chose Earth names for this meeting to honor us. Their leader picked the name Dukyung. We should use it." The inner airlock door opened slowly. First came two Rakthar guards, each nearly 3 meters tall. Their purple fur gleamed under the station's lights, and their golden eyes scanned everything quickly. Behind them stood their leader, Dukyung, even larger than the guards. "Welcome to the International Space Station," Jeho said, bowing slightly. "I am Commander Park. We are honored by your presence." Dukyung stepped forward, moving with surprising grace for such a large creature. "The honor is ours, Commander." The universal translator made the Rakthar's deep voice sound almost musical. "We have never received such an invitation before." As they walked toward the dining area, Dukyung noticed something that made him stop. Through one of the station's windows, Earth was visible, glowing blue and white against the darkness of space. "Your world is beautiful," Dukyung said, studying the planet. "Most species we meet live on worlds of rock and ice. They hide underground when we approach." He turned to face Jeho. "But you humans build your homes in the open and even among the stars." They continued walking, passing other crew members who tried not to stare at the massive aliens. The Rakthars noticed this effort and seemed pleased by it. "You are not afraid," one of the guards said to Ha-won. "We can smell fear, you know. But from you humans, we smell only curiosity." Ha-won nodded. "We believe in learning about those we meet, not fearing them automatically." She gestured to the science labs they were passing. That's why we built this station, to learn and to meet others. When they reached the dining area, Sujin Lee was waiting. The room had been carefully prepared with larger chairs for the Rakthars and tables decorated with simple but elegant earth designs. Du Kyung sniffed the air, his ears moving forward with interest. These smells. You have prepared food. Yes, Su Jin said, stepping forward with a confident smile. We have created a special menu that honors both our cultures. The Rakthar leader looked around the room, taking in every detail. His eyes lingered on the Earth-style table settings, the carefully arranged plates, glasses, and eating tools. In all our travels, Du Kyung said slowly, no species has ever invited us to share a meal. They offer treaties, territories, or tributes. But never. He picked up a polished silver fork, studying how it caught the light. Never their customs or their company. Jai-ho watched as their guests settled into their seats. The chairs, reinforced to hold their weight, didn't even creak. Everything was working exactly as planned. But the real test would come with the first course. Among humans, Jai-ho explained as they all sat down, sharing food is how we turn strangers into friends. Do Kyung's expression changed in a way that might have been a smile. Then perhaps, Commander, we are about to make history in more ways than one. Cultural attaché Minna Song watched carefully as Su Jin's kitchen staff brought out the first course. The soup bowls steamed gently, releasing a rich aroma that made even the Rakthar's sensitive noses twitch with interest. This is Earth's oldest type of cooking, Minna explained as the bowls were placed before each guest. Our ancestors learned to make soup before they built the first cities. It taught us that food could be more than just fuel. It could be art. Do Kyung lifted his specially made spoon, which had been strengthened to handle a Rakthar's grip. He studied the golden liquid in his bowl. You boil meat and plants together in water. He asked, why not eat them directly? Because together they become something new, Minna said. Something better than their separate parts, like how different species can become stronger by working together. The Rakthar leader carefully tasted the soup. His golden eyes widened slightly. The other Rakthars watched their leader, then tried their own bowls. Soon, the only sound was the gentle clink of spoons against bowls. This is unexpected, Du Kyung said finally. We have always eaten our meat raw. We never thought of transforming it this way. As the dinner continued, Minna explained each course. She told them how humans had learned to use fire not just for warmth, but for cooking. How they had discovered that food could bring people together, turning meals into celebrations. But you are so small, one of the Rakthar guards said, looking at the humans around the table. How did you hunt large animals to get meat before you had modern weapons? Commander Jai-ho smiled. We hunted in groups, he explained. We would chase animals until they got tired. Even the strongest creatures would eventually become exhausted, while humans could keep running. Persistence hunting, Du Kyung said thoughtfully. Yes, we have heard of this. Your bodies can lose heat through sweat, allowing you to run for hours. Most prey animals cannot do this. The main course arrived, carefully prepared earth meats with special seasonings that appealed to Rakthar's senses. Su Jin had outdone herself, creating dishes that honored both human cooking traditions and Rakthar tastes. You used these small tools so carefully, another Rakthar observed, watching the humans use their utensils. Our claws make such delicate movements difficult. That's why we created tools, Minna explained. When we needed to do something our bodies couldn't do, we invented ways to do it. That's how we survived and grew stronger. As they ate, the Rakthars began asking more questions. They wanted to know about farming, about how humans had learned to grow their own food instead of just hunting. They seemed amazed that such a physically weak species had become so successful. I think I understand now, Du Kyung said as the meal neared its end. Your strength isn't in your bodies. It's in how you change things to make them better. You turned fire from an enemy into a tool. You turned hunting into an art. You even turned meeting strange species into a chance to share food. Minna nodded. That's what humans do best. We adapt, we learn, and we share what we learn with others. She looked around the table at their guests, even with species that others might fear. The Rakthar leader looked at his empty plate, then at the earth visible through the station's window. Perhaps, he said slowly, we Rakthars have something to learn from your way of doing things. As the kitchen staff cleared away the main course dishes, Commander Jaiho Park began sharing stories of Earth's ancient hunting techniques. The Rakthars leaned forward in their reinforced chairs, deeply interested in how humans had survived despite their physical limitations. Long ago, Jaiho explained, our ancestors hunted animals much larger than themselves. They would track these creatures for days, following their footprints and other signs. Do-kyung, the Rakthar leader, tilted his head. But surely such large prey would simply turn and fight. Sometimes they did, Jaiho agreed. That's why we hunted in groups. While one group of hunters kept the animal's attention, others would attack from different directions. We used our minds to overcome our physical weakness. Captain Ha-won Kim added to the discussion. We have found cave paintings that show these hunting parties. They tell us how our ancestors worked together to bring down creatures that could have easily killed a single human. The Rakthar guards exchanged glances. One of them spoke up. We have always hunted alone. It is our way to prove individual strength. But there is strength in working together, Jaiho said. He picked up his water glass. Like this dinner, the food was better because many people helped prepare it. Each person added their own skill to make something greater. Do-kyung nodded slowly. Yes, we are beginning to understand this human way of thinking. You turn your weaknesses into strengths by working together. He looked at his own massive claws. We Rakthars never needed to do this. Our bodies were always strong enough. Physical strength is just one kind of power, Ha-won said gently. Humans learned that there are many ways to be strong. As they talked, Soo-jin brought out a special dessert she had created. It combined sweet and savory flavors in a way that appealed to both human and Rakthar tastes. The Rakthars watched with interest as she explained how she had studied their biology to create something new. You see, Jaiho said, gesturing to the dessert, this is what humans do best. We take different things and combine them to make something better. We did this with hunting styles, with cooking, and now we hope to do it with our different species. Do-kyung tasted the dessert carefully. His ears moved forward in what the humans had learned was a sign of pleasure. Your species continues to surprise us, Commander. You have taken what should be a diplomatic meeting and turned it into. He paused, searching for the right words. An opportunity for growth. That is another human strength, Ha-won said. We try to find opportunities in every situation, even in meetings with species that others fear. The Rakthar leader looked around the table at both humans and his own people. Perhaps that is why you have survived and thrived. You do not simply accept things as they are. You imagine how they could be better. As the evening continued, both species shared more stories. The Rakthars told tales of their great hunts across the galaxy, while the humans explained how they had learned to hunt smarter rather than stronger. With each story, the initial tension in the room faded more. Commander, Do-kyung said as another round of stories ended, I believe we made the right choice in coming here. Your people have shown us that there are different kinds of strength than what we have always known. As the evening progressed, Soo-jin Lee stood up from her seat. She had been waiting for the perfect moment to share something special with their guests. Would you like to see how humans have changed the way we get food? She asked the Rakthars. Do-kyung nodded, his golden eyes showing interest. Soo-jin pressed a button, and one of the station's walls became a large screen. It showed images of Earth's farms and fields from space. These are not natural, Soo-jin explained. Humans made these. We learned to grow our own food instead of just hunting for it. The Rakthars moved closer to the screen, studying the geometric patterns of farmland. You changed the land itself. One of the guards asked, to make food grow where you want it. Yes, Su Jin said. We learned that we could do more than just take what nature gave us. We could work with nature to create more food than hunting alone could provide. She showed them more images: wheat fields swaying in the wind, orchards full of fruit trees, and modern vertical farms in cities. The Rakthars watched with growing amazement. But this is not just plants, Su Jin continued. She showed them pictures of cattle ranches and fish farms. We also learned to raise animals for food. Instead of hunting them until they disappeared, we protect and care for them. Do Kyung's ears moved forward with interest. You protect your prey, even help them multiply. Yes, Commander Jaho added. We learned that taking care of our food sources was better than just hunting them. This way, we always have enough. The Rakthar leader walked closer to the screen, his claws clicking softly on the floor. In all our years of space travel, we have never thought of this. We always moved to new hunting grounds when the old ones were empty. Captain Howon saw an opportunity to explain further. Humans learned that the strongest hunters aren't just those who can kill the most prey. True strength comes from understanding how to keep your food sources alive and healthy. Like this dinner, Su Jin said, gesturing to the table they had shared. We didn't just catch this food. We grew it, protected it, and made it better through careful breeding and farming. Do Kyung turned to face the humans. His expression was different now, more thoughtful than ever. You are teaching us something important, he said slowly. All this time, we thought being apex predators meant being the strongest hunters. But you humans, you have become something more. You create your prey instead of just consuming it. The other Rakthars were nodding, beginning to understand. One of them spoke up. Our hunting grounds have been getting smaller. Many species we once hunted are now gone. But your way means never running out of food. Su Jin smiled warmly. Would you like to learn more about our farming methods? We would be happy to teach you. The Rakthar leader looked at his fellow warriors, then back at the humans. Yes, he said firmly. I believe it is time for the Rakthars to learn a new way of hunting. A way that creates instead of just destroys. Commander Jaho watched as Su Jin began explaining basic farming concepts to their fascinated guests. He realized they had achieved something remarkable. They had shown the galaxy's greatest predators that there was more to strength than sharp claws and powerful muscles. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was to help life grow instead of just taking it. The dinner was coming to an end. The empty plates and shared stories had created something new between humans and Rakthars. Understanding. Commander Jaho Park watched as Du Kyung, the Rakthar leader, stood up to make an announcement. Humans of Earth. Du Kyung's deep voice filled the room. We came here expecting to meet clever prey. Instead, we found wise teachers. He looked at each human around the table. The Rakthar Empire would like to make an official proposal. Captain Howon Kim sat straighter in her chair. This was an important moment. We are honored to hear your proposal, she said formally. For thousands of years, we Rakthars have been feared across the galaxy. Du Kyung continued. We took pride in this fear, but today, you have shown us a better way. He gestured to the screen still showing Earth's farms. We want to learn your ways of cultivation and creation. The humans exchanged surprised looks. Su Jin Lee, who had taught them about farming, smiled warmly. In return, Du Kyung said, we offer our protection. The galaxy can be dangerous. Many species would try to take what they want by force. The Rakthar Empire can ensure Earth's safety while we learn from each other. Commander Jaho stood up to respond. Your offer is generous, he said carefully. But we would prefer to call it a partnership rather than protection. We can learn from each other as equals. Do Kyung's ears moved forward in approval. Yes, exactly. This is why we respect your species. You are not afraid to speak as equals, even to those who could easily destroy you. He paused. Though after tonight, I doubt any Rakthar would wish to harm humans. You have shown us too much wisdom. Then let us make it official, Howon suggested. a treaty of mutual learning and support between Earth and the Rakthar Empire. As they discussed the details, Security Officer Tae Sung-cho noticed something interesting. The Rakthar guards, who had been tense and alert at the start of the evening, were now relaxed. They were even helping the kitchen staff clear the table, being careful with their massive claws. "One more thing," Du-kyung added. "We would like to establish a permanent embassy on your space station, and perhaps more dinners like this one." Commander Jae-ho smiled. "Of course. Food brought us together tonight. It can keep bringing us together in the future." The Rakthar leader turned to Soo-jin. "And perhaps you could teach our own food preparers your cooking methods. Raw meat seems less appealing now that we have tasted your cooking." "It would be my honor," Soo-jin replied, bowing slightly. As the evening ended and the Rakthars prepared to return to their ship, Du-kyung had one final thing to say. "You humans are remarkable," he told Commander Jae-ho. "You turned dinner into diplomacy. You showed us that true strength lies not in destroying, but in creating, in nurturing, in growing." "That is the human way," Jae-ho replied. "We survive not by being the strongest, but by finding ways to make everyone stronger together." After the Rakthars left, the human team gathered in the observation room, watching their guest shuttle return to the main ship. "Well," Ha-won said, smiling, "I think we just made history. The most feared predators in the galaxy want to learn farming." "And cooking," Soo-jin added with a laugh. Commander Jae-ho looked out at the stars. "We did more than that," he said quietly. "We showed them that being an apex species isn't about being the most powerful. It's about being the most wise."